Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you for joining in. I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the entire Women in Data Science Mumbai team. Women in Data Science, or WIDS, is an annual conference hosted by Stanford University featuring exclusively women speakers in the field of data science. Here in Mumbai, we also organize it annually, and this year was supposed to be our third annual conference. But because of the obvious reasons, we are now having it in a different format of having it in a weekly Tech Talk series. Today being the first of the series, I'm really glad to have Shweta as a first speaker. Shweta Doshi is an edtech entrepreneur and is the co-founder of Grey Adams EdTech. She's an amazing personality and has helped hundreds of people achieve their goal in successfully transitioning into the field of data science. She has been observing this industry very closely over the past few years. Thank you for accepting our invite, Shweta. And just a quick note, if you all have any questions, please drop it in the chat window and we'll take it up at the end of the presentation. So yeah, over to you, Shweta.
All right, thanks so much. I'm really happy to be here with WIDS, and this is my third year in a row. So the first year when we did this, I did this conference at VJTI, which is, happens to be my alma mater. So was very glad to do that. The second year, I went to Pune for a panel discussion, and then this year it's online. So thanks to the entire community for inviting me time and again to these kind of talks. I love contributing to this. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. So let me know when you can see this. Can you all see this? Karthika?
Not yet.
Okay. I get the message that StreamYard is sharing your screen.
It's not visible to me as such. If anyone can put it on the chat window, if you can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think now it is.
Can you see it?
Yeah, can see it. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so very quickly, some background about me. So I'm a computer science grad. That's been my education. I completed my CS engineering from VJTI in Mumbai. Post that, I worked in tech roles at various, MNCs, had on-site stints, was working for a large investment bank in UK out of London for some time. I then came back and joined Nielsen, where I honestly personally came very close to data. And that's when we also started a community called Datagiri, where the effort was to bring together the data science community in Mumbai, and then we, spread around India as well as globally in quite a few chapters. Again, with the attempt of sharing knowledge on data science. I also, founded a company called Grey Atom, and there my key role is to build new programs related to the emerging tech space. So data science, machine learning, AI, NLP, computer vision, these are the programs that we've built on one side. And on the other side, my job is also to ensure how people get transitioned in data science as a career. So building partnerships on the other side with industries that are hiring for data science, as well as coaching our learners to enable them to make that kind of a transition. So that's what I do at Grey Atom. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. So today, what we are going to talk about, let me just lay out a very brief agenda here. So when we talk about a data scientist, let's first establish what they do, and then across organizations, what does an employer want when they are hiring for a data scientist? How do you transition? Why do people succeed? And then who are the kind of people who are succeeding in making that kind of a transition? So that's our agenda for today. So first, let's understand, guys, what must a data scientist do? This is a very fancy term, and it just gets used in so many different contexts. But this is the one that I have sort of distilled out based on my discussions with several organizations globally. So number one, data scientists must understand a problem that a function within an organization has. So let me take an example out here. So let's say we are talking about a company that's a food delivery app, okay, and they have a business problem where let's say the revenue is not growing. So I mean, why is the revenue not going? There would be several next level sub problems, or there could be again, like, to that problem there could be a solution. So the business level solution again could be multiple. One solution is that let's do more marketing spend and let's try and get more users onto the app. Another solution could be that let's try and get more restaurants listed on the app so that eventually more users anyways get more choices to order from different restaurants. So let's say the business decides to go with the solution number two, which is let's get more good restaurants on the app. Now, what does good mean? What's the definition of good? And what restaurants are today getting a good rating? How can you infer that a new restaurant that's going to be added onto the app that will also get a good rating, right? So now that becomes a data science problem where, given a feature set of various restaurants, you have to classify the restaurant as a good or a bad restaurant. And then that's solving for the larger business problem, which is how do I increase my revenue, right? So that kind of an understanding needs to be there within a data scientist. And it's never going to be like a Kaggle competition where you get like a ready-made problem statement, ready-made data set, and there you go and solve for this. So once you are able to bring the business problem into the realms of data science problem, you then solve it using machine learning. You can solve it sometimes with basic automation. Machine learning, again, guys, is just a tool or technique for somebody to be able to do predictive analytics. But that's not the end game at all. So I am amazed sometimes by how much weight and how much importance people put on the algorithms versus the holistic understanding of the end-to-end process. And finally, a data scientist converts that solution into an insight that a CXO or a CMO or somebody who doesn't know anything about an algorithm or a metric of that algorithm or precision or recall or whatever it is, even they can understand that what are you recommending. So these are all the different kind of industry partners that I've hired from our cohorts, and I've had a first-hand opportunity to talk to hiring managers within these companies, founders, CEOs, HRs, and across the board. This is what we understand, that what do employers want when they are hiring for a data scientist. So number one thing that they need is a problem solver. So whether you solve that problem with machine learning, or that business problem can also be solved by a basic automation, they don't care. But you need to be a problem solver. The second thing is that across all of these companies that I showed you, 80% companies today, they are not building their own algorithms. They're using something off the shelf and just helping make predictions for the business. So it's not like you need to invent a whole new algorithm. For example, Cure.ai is a company that's definitely doing that. They are creating proprietary algorithms themselves, but not a lot of companies are doing that, right? So you need an applied data scientist who can very quickly understand what kind of techniques should be used for what kind of business problems. The third thing is good communication skills. So a data scientist communicates across different kinds of business teams, and also with engineering teams, with final stakeholders, sometimes with the customer as well, to understand their behavior. So communication skills is paramount importance, because they eventually have to also communicate the results of their data science projects. Good programming, that's like a given. I mean, you need to be hands on, pick up one programming language. We definitely recommend Python to be that language, but good programming skills are absolutely essential as well. And ability to learn any new things fast, because the landscape is changing so fast today, that today there's a new framework, and then tomorrow there's a new library. So you need to be in that continuous learning mindset to make sure that you are able to adapt to the changing scenario. You need to have breadth. So of course you need to have like a basic understanding of all concepts end to end, right from the math stat, or all the way to the techniques, and business domain understanding, visualization, all of that. And then you need to have depth in at least one area. So let's say you come from a strong programming background, then that can be the depth that you discover. Like you could deploy your models into production as well, and that could be a niche that you develop for yourself. Or let's say natural language processing is what interests you, so you could develop a depth in that as well. So typical hiring process that we've seen across the various organizations has been this. So some companies, they still do have an aptitude round, like Fractal, Mu Sigma. So even at lateral levels, if they are hiring, they will have an aptitude round. There would be a technical round, so there could be any number of technical rounds. And typically people want you guys to take away a home test, and that could be, they give us a week, and then you submit it back, submit it in 24 hours, submit sometimes in an hour, or it could be a real time thing as well. Finally, you present your solution, and then there's a HR discussion that happens. So these are, based on our experience, these are the different job roles even within data science. So the field and the roles are so many, and the spectrum is so wide that sometimes people are talking about the same thing, but there are different jobs there. So however, most of what we've seen at Grey Atom, our learners get transitioned as mostly data scientists and machine learning engineers. And then we also have business analysts, data engineer, all those different kind of roles as well. I could quickly share with you some of the success stories as well that we've had. And again, the idea here is to see that, a lot of times people have a question around what should be my past background for me to be a successful data scientist later on. And honestly, what we've seen is that people across different backgrounds have been able to transition if they have wanted always to be hands on. So even if they didn't know coding, but if Python was a language that they picked up while they were learning, it's a great thing to do, and you can still become a data scientist. So freshers as well as prior software engineers, or prior data analysts, or prior BI analysts, backend engineers. So these are all the different kinds of people who can definitely make a transition. How do you transition if you want to get into this space? So what we typically recommend to anybody is, you need to have like 2 end-to-end portfolio projects. So when people are hiring, this is what they will look at to really see your breadth and depth. You don't need 5, you don't need 10, you just need 2 that very clearly showcase your skills all the way from data cleaning, data aggregation, applying the right kind of machine learning models, of course, understanding the business problem, and then finally visualizing it. A lot of external hackathons happen online as well as physical, but online keeps happening all the time. So if you've attempted an external hackathon, collaborated with a few other people as well, and that's an experience that absolutely brownie point winning kind of an experience to showcase as well. Basics of concepts, one superpower. So this is what I say all the time when I talk about developing depth. You need to have that one superpower that stands you out from everyone else. And this could be, again, something from your past experience. So let's say you've been a business analyst, you've been talking to various stakeholders all the time, then converting the data science, converting the business problem into a data science problem, that could be something that you is a skill that you should hone, and you will be very good at that. Or if you want to pick up model deployments as your superpower, then keep building projects and then push them onto production, or onto a, let's say, onto a Heroku, build a UI out of it, and that can be your superpower. Finally, nothing else works more than failure. So once you've gone through the process, the interview process, 4 failed interviews are going to teach you more than anything else. So I think there's people keep asking this question, that what's the right time to start applying for jobs. Honestly, once you feel a little bit confident with 1, 2, 3, and 4, you should just start applying. And failed interviews that you were not able to crack is going to teach you so much more than anything else. So we've seen this happen, that after 4 interviews, people have sometimes 2, 3 parallel offers as well. These are some of our learners who have transitioned, and I think once again, the things that have worked always in their favor is a strong portfolio project to showcase really good concepts and good programming skills. So even if they were asked to code up live, people were able to do so, and it went really well. Another thing is your learnability. That's something that, again, organizations are checking for in various different ways when they hire people. So one way of checking it is that you don't know something. So let's say for one of our learners, again, I remember this discussion where they had no prior knowledge of time series as a concept. And what happened was, they were given a data set and a problem to solve, and they said that, why don't you solve this via time series? The learner did not know how to solve it, and then they just said that, what, take about 3 hours, go through this concept right now, and whatever you can learn quickly, just apply it. And we just want to see how you're approaching this. And the learner was able to do well, and they were able to finally move forward with that. But that's a key skill that today everybody wants to have in people that they are hiring. Again, what's our advice to learners post offer to select a company? So we definitely say that number one thing that we should look at is always the team and a mentor. If you are the first one starting a data science team after very little experience, that's not the best thing to do. Make sure that you're joining the right team and the right mentor, because in the initial couple of years of careers as data scientists, that's where we are going to learn the most. The second thing, and most important thing again, is what is the use case that that company is solving for? How interesting is that use case for someone to solve? And in a long term, how much value does that add overall to your profile? So that's the second thing. The third thing I would say is, what's your ability to leverage your past experience in the new role? And that again, helps generate comfort in this new role. What's the ability to work on an end-to-end pipeline? So when you go to large organizations, sometimes your role gets boxed. So sometimes people just keep working on data cleaning for a very long time, or there's somebody who's just building models, and that's it, that's what they do all the time. some people are just talking to the business and get the requirements. So if there is an ability for you to work on an end to end pipeline, that's the best thing to do. And finally, look at the salary. I think salary definitely should not be a make or break in the decision making when someone's just starting off with a data science career. Even like a 30% hike, around that area is definitely all right and good to start off with. Some questions that we encourage people to ask when they are making a decision to join as a data scientist somewhere. The number one thing again here is, does the company have a good data infrastructure team? Because before algorithm comes data, and if the organization doesn't have a good data mechanism or a good data pipeline already, then a lot of work that you're going to do is not going to amount to much, and it's not going to be long lasting as well. So this is the number one question, that do they have already an infrastructure around the whole data piece, and for how long is that around? So that way you can understand the richness of the data that the organization already has. What's the data stack? Do they have a data engineering team, and how does that team work with data scientists? Um, so I think all of these questions help you gather the maturity of the data organization, and that eventually defines the success or the lack of it of all the data projects that the organization takes up later. um, one other resource that we've typically found very interesting when people are interviewing for data science roles is Pramp. So you can just go to Pramp and register yourself, and then you can schedule mock interviews with anybody across the globe, and the person will interview you, you will interview the person, and uh, they can give you feedback, they can score you as well. And what that helps in doing is that your confidence levels before the interview improve. And then Pramp has these kind of questions already inbuilt, where you already get a question to ask the other person, and the other person gets the question that they should ask you. So for example, here, the high level business problem statement, as I was telling you in the beginning, here, the high level business problem statement is, how would you improve the usage of Facebook groups? Right. And now I think peel by peel, you're just, trying to dissect this problem into lower level questions, which is, what is the purpose of this product? What is the issue that you're seeing in the product? How will you solve the issue? What would be the solution? What would be a good MVP? So all of these are the next level questions, and out of this would also evolve a data science question, which is a question that the data science team must answer and eventually solve this higher level business problem, which is, how would you improve the usage of Facebook groups? So these kind of questions get asked quite frequently during the interviews, and preparing for this in advance on tools like Pram will definitely help boost your chances during the interview. Similarly, this is just one other example. So I think one question that's there on everyone's mind is, are there jobs in data science right now? Uh, I would like to share this resource, which is a live Airtable embedded on the Analytics India Max site, which shows that which are the companies that are still hiring, which are the companies that are laying off, and which are the companies where there are freezes. So as we can see, definitely there are a lot of layoffs happening, hiring freezes happening, but hiring is also happening. So keep a close look at this, and you can definitely, this is updated as we speak, and this gives you like an accurate picture. I will share more resources as well as and when I come across, but Yeah, scene is definitely bad right now, but I think um, within a couple of months we will have a larger direction as to where all of this is going, and how the industry is going to evolve, adopt post we are out of this lockdown kind of a scenario. So there have been phases where the role has not gone away, but the company just wants to meet the person and then take a call. Or sometimes, right now they don't want to hire right now, next 2 months they want to conserve cash, but again the role hasn't gone away. So what and this is my personal take, that businesses have started to make their decisions based on data since quite some time now. At least I would say, at least 4 to 5 years since data science as a field has overall picked up, and businesses definitely want to do decision making not based on gut but based on data going forward. And that kind of a trend is not going away anywhere, that's there to stay. So this field is definitely going to stay, but how it evolves over a period of time, that's going to be very interesting to see. And what kind of roles, like right now we have data scientists, but how that role is going to evolve in the next few months is definitely something to watch out for. So I think I'm at the end of my presentation, and now I'm really happy to take any questions that anyone has.
Yeah. So there are a few questions on the chat window. I'll just take it. So the person asks, must you have the ability to program in all the languages?
Can you repeat that question, Karthika, please?
He's asking, or he or she is asking that is it needed to know programming in all the languages, the ability
No,
to program in all?
it's not necessary at all. It's important to know programming in one language, and we recommend Python to be that language, because Python is all the way up to deployment you could use Python. So that's definitely the language of choice. And if for people who have not been programming very actively, Python is very English like and easy to pick up, so definitely go for Python as the language of choice.
The next question is, if we want to explore a career in bioinformatics, I've heard data science or R is required for it. Any insights on doing a career in bioinformatics after finishing a biology niche degree?
Sorry, I'm not an expert on that. I wouldn't be able to answer that question.
Yeah, I think there's a related question that is one of my friends from microbiology is learning Python or R while applying for jobs in bioinformatics. Does she need certification to prove her DS skills, or can she give any test? It works and it works.
So, what we have seen really often these days across different organizations is nobody's asking for the certificate. They will evaluate you on your skills, and they will test out your skills on the coding test, take away home tests in different ways. So, certification is definitely not a must.
Okay. I think they want the link that you shared, the Airtable link. So
Sure.
how can we get that?
I can right now put it on the chat. So the thing is, I don't see this chat. Just give me one sec.
Mhm.
Let me put this on the chat. Can you see it, Karthika?
Where?
Sorry.
Can't see it till now. If you could share with me, I will
I will be
share it
anyway
across
sharing my
later.
presentation as well after the meeting. So definitely people can go through it. I see one more question where somebody Senthil is asking: is it mandatory to be an expert in data visualization tools like Power BI or Tableau? It's good to have, I would say. And Tableau is very, very easy to pick up. There are really good Udemy courses, as well as Tableau has made currently their entire learning programs on their site free as well. So I would say definitely check out. But that's not mandatory to be, an expert on data visualization. Even if you know good Python and then Python libraries, you can visualize really well on that as well. But these tools, for example, both of these, Power BI and Tableau, they're widely adopted in the industry. So, if you've tinkered around a little bit with these tools, it's definitely going to be an add on to your resume. The next question I see is from Mahodar, who's saying that I'm a beginner in data science. So for prediction in ML, there are many such methods. So I'm having trouble recalling. So what should we do for it? This is like a really, really good question, Mahodar. So my response to this is going to be that rather than remembering techniques and methods, if you traverse backwards and take a problem statement first that you want to solve. So let's say you go on Kaggle, you pick up a problem statement that you want to solve, and then whatever methods are the best ones to solve for that problem, uh, apply those methods. And by application, that's how you're going to remember things in the best possible way, and keep doing this over and over again. So of course, like a basic understanding of some basic machine learning techniques is important, but then you don't need to sort of keep just going through it from a concept perspective. You need to apply it to a real business problem, and then that's how you will also understand that, yeah, when I had sparse data, I used this algorithm and it worked best for me. When I had categorical data, or when I had continuous data, this particular approach worked best for me. So that way, your knowledge keeps getting more and more firm. um, where can I get some open source projects? So there are a lot of sites where, for example, data.gov is one, where you can get a lot of data sets already loaded up there. There's this other website called Gapminder. You can check that out as well. Gapminder. And on that website, you will again see a lot of world and economic data. So basically, looking at that data, do some basic EDA and identify what's the problem that you want to solve for, what kind of questions do you want to ask to this data, and that can be the best way of starting, more and more projects. What should be the best approach to get internship in data science roles with having basic programming skills in R and Python? So, Ganesh, the best approach to do this is, along with some skills, have some demonstration of these skills as well. Just show that you are able to do something with the skills that you have acquired. So, have again a couple of projects that showcase your primary skills. And then the best way to do it is start you know uh, putting together a list of companies that you want to reach out to. Start reaching out to the right kind of folks there, so people who are within the data science team, and say that, hey, you know what, I want to this is my resume, these are my skill sets, this is what I have learned, and I would like to start applying this somewhere. So even if you get like a 2-3 month internship somewhere, you can just start learning more. And even if it's like an unpaid internship to begin with, just grab that opportunity, because honestly, how much you will learn in that period is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be more than any course that you do. So definitely grab those kind of opportunities.
I think there are no more questions in the window. So if you all have any, you can put. I have a question.
Please.
interested to know your experience about the entrepreneurship. So, if anyone over here also is interested in starting their own business, how do you really go about it?
Okay. So do you want to like ask me a more specific question there, or
Yeah, yeah,
do you want to
yeah.
just understand my journey?
uh, Journey would be good, but also specific. Like at this point, I'm also thinking that I really want to do something in starting my own thing. But I have an idea, but how do I really? I don't know if my idea is a really good idea, so I have that doubts. So how do I really start? And it's also important to find a good co-founder. So yeah,
Okay. So I think yeah, that's a good point. Let me start from there. So I think that's one thing that 90% of people always want to start with is an idea. I always say this, that you need to start from a problem first. So identify a problem that's big enough that impacts a lot of people, like you're seeing in your day to day life, or you've been working and you see a business problem that's to be solved, or you see that there's this pain point for a lot of people that you want to solve for. So start from there. So number one is identify the right problem. Second thing is identify that this problem is worth solving for. So let's say, for example, somebody decides that they want to start like a Uber for pets. That could be an idea, but how large is that market to eventually monetize on top of it? So maybe not, right? So identify problem and a market that's large enough, and that should be your starting point. And then in the initial few months, what you should do is then come up with like an idea that's going to solve that particular problem. Sometimes for a tech startup, a lot of times they believe that only when they have like a product ready or an MVP ready, that's only when they should go out. But you can test out things very crudely, very quickly, with little resources as well. So test out whatever hypothesis that you've built even without a product first. Like, don't build the product, just test out your hypothesis. Post that, start building the product based on what you came to know after that quick experiment that you ran. Build out the MVP, and again I would say go to the market and identify the right customer persona. So your market is always going to be very, very huge. So I'll give you an example of a email automation app which is called Superhuman, and they basically optimize the workflows of reminders on sending replies to the emails, and automating the replies sometimes as well. And the product is suited honestly for a lot of CEO and CXO kind of people. And that kind of a product may not have a use case with a student, let's say, for example. So if we initial our hypothesis is that my product is a email automation software and everybody uses email, so my market is going to be everybody who uses email. But then that's not your market. Your within your specialized area, what's the exact market that's going to lap up this product, is what we need to first figure out. So when you figure that out, that this is my market, then again rigorously iterate with exactly that kind of a user base, and then achieve. Then the next level of thing is achieving a product market fit. So how can you achieve a product market fit, right? So when you know that people can't live without your product. So I definitely know, and you also know, companies that have achieved their product market fit really well. So today, can we do without an Uber? Can we do without an Ola? Can we do without a Swiggy? Can we do without a Zomato? And a lot of smaller, not so known companies as well, where there is a niche audience that loves them and can't do without them. That's when you have achieved your product market fit. So initially, it's, again, sometimes people say growth versus the love for the product. So I would always say that, establish the love for the product in the initial days at a very high level. Even if your user growth is not coming in significantly, that's all right. But make sure that people who are there on your product, or people who are using your services, they love you, and if you just disappear from the face of earth, they will be devastated, and they just can't live without the service, because you have solved a problem for them, and there was no other alternative solution for it. So I hope that answers your question, Karthika. So just to summarize, problem before the idea, and product market fit, achieving that product market fit, and then scaling up. So I think if you do things in that sequence, then you're definitely going to be very successful.
Thank you. That was an elaborate answer. It really was helpful. We have one question now. She first of all, she's saying, "Thank you for the presentation. It's really good." And the question is, many people confuse between ML engineer and data scientist. So could you explain the difference?
Hey, hi Shweta. So Shweta happens to be a mentor also for Creatum cohort. So happy to see her here. And thanks, Shweta, for the opportunity for me to talk at WIDS. So yeah, many people do confuse between ML engineer and a data scientist. ML engineer is somebody who's rigorously working with the data, and um uh, building models all the time. Sometimes they also may be deploying the model. Data scientist is more of a unicorn who's like going end to end, right from understanding the business problem, breaking it down into data science problem, and then doing all the steps that the ML engineer also does, and then finally, conveying back the results to the team. And whether we should go ahead with a particular approach, whether this is solving for the business problem, I think that's all that the data scientist does. So it's a very broad term. Okay, so the next question is from Abhiroop. What do you think is the future of NLP, and what would be the future use cases? Future of NLP, I think that's one technique within the entire data science space that I see being used across organizations and across different kind of industries as well. So whether it is fintech, whether it is retail, whether it is any other industry, NLP is definitely being adopted everywhere for very varied kind of use cases. What would be the future use cases for NLP? I would say, we've just started some initial steps on natural language understanding and natural language generation. NLP is natural language processing, but I think in the fields of NLG and NLU, there is a lot more that's coming up, a lot more we need to see. So, for example, I'll give you one example, which is Otter.ai. So Otter.ai is something that I have started personally using quite often. I do a lot of meetings, and then sometimes, there are all these summaries to be sent out, and I need to sometimes go back and revisit what happened in a particular discussion with an industry partner or with a mentor. So what we do is we use this tool called Otter.ai, and this tool basically converts your speech to text, and it's constantly generating the language. And it's an application of natural language generation. So I think a lot of these kind of products are going to make your life overall easy, and they're going to be applied across different businesses and across different use cases. And if that's a field that you are thinking to get deeper into, definitely that's something very exciting, and future is bright there. So both, in fact, I would say both natural language processing and computer vision, both of these are going to have very interesting use cases. I post this COVID situation, I see really interesting use cases for computer vision as well, where people want to keep a distance of 6 feet, and there are these cameras all the time that are capturing the information and then making sure that people are maintaining distances as well. So I think both of them, NLP and CV, are having a bright future.
Thank you. I think we don't have any more questions right now. Should we end it early, or should we wait for a while?
I think we can wait for a couple of minutes. If there are more questions, I'm happy to take them. If not, then we
Yeah.
can close the call.
Okay, that sounds right. Okay.
I think we had
I would just like to
one
ask.
question. We skipped one question. So yeah, there are two questions now. One is from Delight. I don't have much knowledge about data science, but I think I understand now. I'm just a learner in Python, but I'm good in JavaScript. Yeah. So I think for moving ahead with data science, uh, Python is has a much better toolkit than JavaScript. So definitely try and go for Python, and keep learning. And then Julian has a question that, has Grey Atom been able to help out with the COVID crisis in any way? Yeah, great question, Julian. Thanks. So yes, we definitely tried to help out for the starting in March itself, when this entire lockdown situation was announced, and we have a great platform, great learning content. So we opened up our courses for free on the platform. So no mentorship, but at least people can go through the content and keep attempting assignments and keep coding up. So that's how we've been trying to address this scenario. And I'm happy to say that last month we've had 20,000 new learners come in and start their learning journey with data science. So in case if you guys also are looking to take some free courses and learn more about how you could start a career in data science, I'm just going to ping you the link to that as well here, and then you could just go here and sign up. So the next question is from Abhiroop. How important is it to learn deep learning to be successful in data science? So great question again. So goes back to my previous thing on solve for a problem and not for a technique. So why do you want to do deep learning, right? You need to do deep learning because something that you're trying to do cannot be achieved by basic machine learning techniques or some basic algorithms. Only then you should move to deep learning, because deep learning involves a lot of GPU usage. So you don't want to burn out a lot of resources if your problem was not worth doing in deep learning itself. So when you have like a humongous size of data sets, when you have really complex processing, and when you know that this cannot be achieved by a simple machine learning technique, only then you should go and do something with deep learning. Till then, you should stay in the realms of machine learning itself. Julian is asking the question, would you recommend spending time on math for data science? I've been in loop with differentials and matrices, and it seems a quite long tunnel to complete traversing. So I agree with you, Julian. Math for data science is definitely hard to sort of visualize and get through. But I think there are a few core concepts with probability and statistics, within probability and inferential statistics, that first you should master, and then move on to linear algebra as well, because that's something, linear algebra and matrices, that's something that will help you in optimizations. So if you want to really be a good hands-on data scientist, there's no escape from learning the math. I think I have a few good resources on learning the math for machine learning, which I can share with you post this call, because I don't have them right now very handy, but I can definitely share it with you.
I think we don't have any more questions. We can wait for 2 minutes and then we can probably end the call. I would just like to reiterate, we are starting this Tech Talk series, which is a weekly series, because this year, because of the COVID, we could not organize our annual conference. And today was the first, and we'll be having it every week on Saturdays, mostly the same timing. And next week, we will most probably have someone from blockchain industry. So yeah, and do keep checking our website and also the different pages for more information. And I think we can probably end the live session early. And thanks a lot, Shweta, for attending and accepting our invite. Was really glad. We were really happy to hear so much variety of different insights on the whole data science space. It was really nice. Yeah, I hope everyone really gained something today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for me too to be at WIDS for the third time in a row.
I hope everyone stays safe. And yeah, thank you for joining in, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.